Shalom, I am Nana Rue. This is my husband, Rabbi David Rue, and we are delving deeper into the details around the Shmita year. And we've been talking about the holiness that is intrinsic in produce that grows in the Holy Land during the 7th year of the 7-year cycle, and the holiness that can be transferred depending on if we sell the item and how it all works out. How we have to be careful we don't want to have any waste, or we have to be careful how we dispose of extra of the things that are holy. What about money? What can you tell us about the holiness relating to money?
Well, if the fruits of Shmita are exchanged for money, the money becomes holy. And we've discussed this in the previous video. The Gemara from Sukkah, Tani Kavasi to Rabbi Elazar. The Brisa taught similarly to Rabbi Elazar. Shviis tefesses estameha, that the sabbatical year grabs its money. Shanamars, it says, Ki yovel hi kodesh tieh lechem. It is a jubilee, it will be holy to you. And ha-ketzad, so I'm skipping a little bit if you want to go back to the previous video to see the whole thing. How does this work? Lakach b'perosh shviis basar. If I traded my Shmita produce, I accidentally harvested too much, and so I traded for some meat. Elu ve'elu misparim b'shviis. Both of them have to have the halacha of biur on Shviis. I've only talked about this briefly. I'll talk about it a little more in a second. Lakach b'basar dagim. I take the meat, and in its place I trade it for some fish. Yatsa basar v'nichnas dagim. The meat goes out, and the fish come in, meaning the meat is no longer sanctified with the sanctity of Shmita, but the fish are. Lakach b'dagim yain. I trade my fish for wine. Yatsu dagim v'nichnas yain. The fish go out, the wine comes in. The wine now has the sanctity of Shmita and the fish don't. Lakach b'yain shemen. I trade my wine for oil. Yatsu yain. The wine is no longer sanctified with the Kedushas of Shmita, v'nichnas shemen, and the oil is. Ha-ketzad. How so? Acharon nichnas b'shviis. The last one is grabbed with the Shmita. Upri atzmo asur. And the fruit itself always remains prohibited. We explained this previously because the fruit has the sanctity of Shmita, and as it developed, it had the sanctity in the same way a bechor does. Therefore, it's always holy and it cannot be removed. However, the things that are secondary to it, that acquired their kedusha because they were traded for this, that can be removed. So the Rambam says, Ein shviis mischalelas eladat mekach. The Shmita can only be removed, the Kedusha can only be removed by trade, by selling. More than we're talking about b'pri rishon, with the first fruit. But after that, it can become negated in any of a series of ways. Either by selling it, or by saying, I'm taking this object and transferring the sanctity to this money. The money of Shmita then is a problem. You can only treat it like objects of Shmita. So I can only buy with it food. I can't buy with anything else. There's a Mishnah in Shviis that we'll see later that says this explicitly. I can't buy anything with the money of Shmita other than fruits and vegetables that I'm going to eat on Shmita. Now, the Gemara that we quoted from Sukkah says...
Should I keep like a separate wallet?
We'll see. It says that we have to be mitbayerin b'shviis. We have to get rid of these products on Shmita. The pasuk says that as long as the animals can eat these things in the field, I can eat them in my house. Once they can't, then I have to do what's called biur. What biur is I take the object outside and say, anyone who wants it can have it. Leave it there for a while. I can take it back if it's still there. Someone took it, whatever. But and then I could keep it for a period of time. But in general, I'm not allowed to keep these things longer than they were available to the wild animals in the fields. Now, because of this, and because there are limitations with what I can do of the money of Shmita, therefore we have a prohibition, the Gemara says, Gemara in Sukkah, immediately before the one we just had. Titania ein mosrim dvei peiros Shviis lam haaretz. I'm not allowed to give the money, either by buying something, trading something, it doesn't matter how, of Shviis, of the sabbatic yotru am haaretz. This is someone that's suspected of not either knowing how to keep care of a property or not caring to take care of it properly. Yoser mimabzon shlosh sudas. I can give him enough for 3 meals. V'masar hari maos halelu yu mechulalin al peros sheyesh li besoch basi. And what do I do if I actually I made a deal with him and accidentally I paid him with money of Shviis, however it happened. I bought a deer from him with the money of Shviis, which I'm allowed to do. But it's a lot of money. A deer is, 400 pounds of meat here. I mean, I'm throwing a wedding, so I can, use 400 pounds of meat. But in general, it would be a problem. And he's got a significant amount of money because deer is expensive. So I have to say, the money that he has that's sanctified with the Kedushas Shviis, let's say I gave him $3,000 for the deer. I have $3,000 here. This $3,000 now has the sanctity of Shviis, and that money over there no longer does. Ubava ochlim Kedushas Shviis, and then anything that I buy with this money, I have to use it up in the Shmita year. And everything that I eat with it can only be treated as if it had the sanctity of Shmita.
You're saying when you give him that $3,000, or let's say 9,000 shekels, right? So then he can only use that money for holy Shmita produce?
Well, no, it doesn't. He could buy any food.
But it would have to be for Shmita.
It has to be treated with the sanctity of Shmita.
So the person who received the payment has to use that payment for Shmita.
And it has to be used up within a certain period of time, depending upon what it is and so on. Okay. Therefore, it's a problem for him to have so much money because he's not going to use this all for food. He's going to go buy a new pair of shoes, all sorts of things with it.
Make a donation, charity? That
would be a problem too, because the person who receives the money from charity is going to say, I need a new shirt. He's going to buy a new shirt. That doesn't work.
Uh-oh.
So Rashi says, Yosim Mazan Shlosh Sudos. Why is it 3 meals? Kedei Chayav. It's enough for him to support himself. Because a person needs at least 3 meals on Shabbos. Normally, in the time of the Gemara and the time of the Rishonim, people had 2 meals a day. One in the morning, one in the late afternoon and early evening, and that was it. But on Shabbos, a person has 3 meals. So Rashi says, once we're allowed to give him 3 meals for Shabbos, we can give him 3 meals for any time.
You mean Friday night 1 meal and the next day 2 meals?
So Tosfos disagrees. And what Tosfos says is that if I give him too much money, he's going to go out. She'ein amaretz nizhar iser liknos behem behemet meya. The am haaretz, because he doesn't know or because he's not careful, will not be careful in not buying a non-kosher animal, avadim v'karkos, slaves and real estate, chaluk v'talis, a garment, u'minalayim, shoes, ve'ein nosnim lo levayer, and he will not do beer property, v'lo lebalan, and v'lo sapan, v'lo lesapir, the Shviis, le'achila l'shtia l'sicha, v'lo l'shar devarim. And he could pay a barber, or who knows what he could do with this money that isn't for food. And what we're told about Shviis, about the Shmita years, it's for eating and drinking and anointing and not for other things. And Tosfos says, asur lifroach chovo. You're not allowed to pay off debts with the money of Shmita. All of these things, if someone has a significant amount of money, they might want to do. I'll pay off my credit card. All sorts of things I could do with this. And in all of these cases, the person is not conducting themselves with the sanctity due to the Shmita year. Now, there's a lot more to be said on this, and we will continue this whole discussion of money that has the sanctity of Shmita in the next video as well.
So it's a cliffhanger. We don't know yet what you can do if you get a bunch of money that has the sanctity of Shmita.
Well, that's
Besides
I haven't talked about that. I'm saying I can't give it to this person. I haven't said what I have to do with it yet.
We know you would have to use it to buy holy.
Yes, and I can only use it for getting food, and I have to eat up that food by the time of beer. By the time I'd have to get rid of the food in the house because there's no more of this type of thing outside for the animals, or perhaps what it originally came from. Meaning there might be an original limitation on this money because this is from grapes, and grapes are done by this period, so it might be that I have to use it outside. So what do I do in normal buying and selling? But we have more things that we have to.
It's a very holy problem to have.
And we continue in the next video.